Welcome back. Usually when backers of voter initiatives work hard and spend money to get a measure on the ballot, they don't try to get it pulled in a panic before the election. But that's just what's happening now with Measure K, designed to tax Amazon, but may end up hurting local businesses instead. Our media partners at the San Francisco Standard were the first to publish an article about this stunning discovery. Joining us live now to talk about it is senior reporter for the Standard, Josh Koehn. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Kristen, how are you?
I'm good, but what is going on here? What was Measure K supposed to help achieve?
Yeah, so Measure K was created to tax Amazon specifically, according to the person who put this whole ballot measure together. It's a man named John Elberlein, who's the head of TODCO, an affordable housing group here in the city. And the goal was to create revenue that could then go towards a guaranteed income program for some of the city's most vulnerable residents.
Got it. How much money were they hoping this would raise?
Well, they learned after putting the whole thing together that they were supposedly going to be raising around $60 million a year to fund this guaranteed income program for single mothers and people who are experiencing unemployment and a range of other people who are just really struggling.
Okay, so that was the intention, but you're reporting that instead of getting something meaningful from what a lot of people think of as big bad Amazon or huge e-tailers, it would actually hit many local businesses. How come? Like, where did they go wrong?
Yeah, well, this is kind of a truly San Francisco news story in the sense that starts out with the best of intentions, ends up blowing up in the people's face and actually creating more problems than the one they're trying to actually solve. Because of the way it was written, the organizers of Prop K ended up not really understanding how Amazon makes its money, and so it actually wouldn't even affect Amazon from what most people are saying. It would actually affect hundreds of small businesses right here in San Francisco. And so it would not actually tax the big corporate giant they were going after. It would hurt hundreds of small businesses, and it would actually cut around $10 million a year from the city's general fund. So in all respects, this is a colossal screw up.
All right, because you were trying to explain to me, because this is pretty complicated, that they thought, hey, Amazon made its money in sales, so we'll tax the sales. But really, that wasn't the key driver, right, for Amazon anyway.
Yeah, the key driver is that they thought that Amazon makes almost all of its money from the goods that many of us buy when we go to Amazon.com. But Amazon actually does a lot of web services, cloud computing, and really helping a lot of the big tech companies here in the city do their work online. And so it's not necessarily like a truly kept secret. There is confidential information that these Prop K backers didn't have access to, but even still, I think their eyes got a little bit too big when they saw the pot of money and they didn't do their due diligence.
Got it. Whereas the way it was written, it would have taxed a lot of the local businesses that actually do get their revenue from sales. So how did this all get discovered?
Well, so what's interesting about the situation is the city controller puts together an analysis on the proposition to figure out what kind of revenue would come in and some costs that would be associated. And so they actually let the organizers of Prop K know that it was going to actually have some very negative consequences. However, Prop K backers didn't actually tell the local Democratic Party about this before the Democratic Party endorsed Prop K. And right now, the Democratic Party here in San Francisco is still endorsing Prop K while they go to court tomorrow to figure out if a judge will strip it from the ballot because so many people, and we're talking about thousands of people who signed a petition to put it on the ballot, were misled.
Oh, okay. So will a decision be made tomorrow on whether to strike it from the ballot?
We're expecting a judge will make a decision tomorrow because actually next week the ballot gets finalized. So the judge could say, you know what, we're going to leave it as is. This is your screw up. Or they could actually say, you know what, this was not really done in good faith. Or at least people were misled, and that's not really the way that we want to conduct our elections. So there's a lot that's going to happen tomorrow, and we'll find out then.
Okay, best case scenario, the judge throws it out, right? No more Measure K. But how much money did the organizers put into this?
Yeah, so best case scenario would probably be that it doesn't go on the ballot. However, the people who organized this, TODCO, this affordable housing group, they spent almost $500,000 putting this together. And one thing that I spoke to affordable housing groups across the city about how they felt about TODCO's role in this ballot measure. and people called it gross, unethical. They said basically Todd Koehn could have used this $500,000 to help low-income residents who live in their buildings, and instead they're using it on political games that actually have backfired.
Wow. All right, how much time do we have left, you guys? 30 seconds. Josh, quick, you're on a timer. What's the moral of the story?
The moral of the story is do your due diligence, do your homework. If you're going to actually create a tax measure that raises millions of dollars, make sure you know what you're doing and not harming businesses, bars, restaurants, nail salons, service industry, people who were hit hardest by the pandemic. They're workers who have been really hit hard and losing wages. These are the people that get affected most by this tax measure. So really, if you're going to be in the game of politics, you got to do your homework. And I think, what's astounding about this situation is the man who was in charge of this, John Elberling. When I asked him, we interviewed him for about 2 hours last week. He had no remorse. He's like, you know what? If it stays on the ballot, I'll just do this again next year. No big deal.